The cameras had barely started rolling when the tension between Jennifer Hudson and legendary actress Marla Gibbs began to crackle through the studio air. What was supposed to be a warm, nostalgic conversation about Gibbs's groundbreaking career on The Jeffersons quickly veered into territory that no one in the audience, or at home, had anticipated. The set was decorated with vintage nods to Gibbs's television legacy, complete with framed photos of her most iconic roles, and the mood was supposed to be celebratory. But the moment Jennifer leaned forward with her dazzling smile and asked a pointed question about the respect Hollywood shows its pioneers, Marla's entire posture shifted. Jennifer, with her usual charm, asked, "Do you think younger actors today give enough credit to those who opened the doors for them? People like you, Ms. Gibbs, who changed television forever." It was a safe question on paper, one that producers had assumed would lead to a heartwarming answer and a standing ovation. Instead, Gibbs, sharp as ever at 93, raised an eyebrow, fixed her gaze on Jennifer, and tilted her head slightly, her silence carrying more weight than any applause could. Finally, she answered, her voice measured yet cutting. "Respect," she repeated, drawing the word out with a tone that instantly pulled the audience to the edge of their seats. "Darlin', respect isn't just singing somebody's song on TV or dropping a name in an interview. Respect means listening to the people who've lived it. And sometimes, I don't see that happening." The audience let out a collective murmur, the kind that comes when a line hits harder than expected. Jennifer, still smiling but with a flicker of unease in her eyes, chuckled to lighten the mood. "Well, Ms. Gibbs, I do try to show love. I mean, I grew up watching you." Her tone was playful, the kind of charm that usually worked to steer moments back into safe waters. But Marla wasn't buying it. She leaned forward, her eyes never breaking contact with Jennifer's, and said, "Baby girl, you can't just grow up watching us, you've got to grow up listening to us." The words landed like a verdict, final and uncompromising. The tension in the room became palpable. Audience members shifted in their seats, whispering to one another. Some clapped nervously, unsure whether to support Gibbs's truth-telling or Jennifer's attempts to keep the show upbeat. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged frantic glances, realizing they were witnessing a live moment they hadn't rehearsed for, and one that could spiral. Jennifer's smile faltered for the first time, her voice taking on a sharper edge. "Now, hold on," she said, sitting up straighter. "This is my show, and I don't think anyone here is saying I don't show respect." That statement, though firm, only seemed to embolden Gibbs. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms with the kind of poise that comes from decades of commanding stages and sets. Then she laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh. It was a knowing laugh, edged with the kind of authority only earned through surviving the brutal realities of Hollywood. "I've been in this game longer than most of these young folks have been alive. I've seen legends forgotten while others get paraded around just because they're trending on social media. And you, Jennifer, with your platform, you could do more than anybody to make sure we're not treated like relics." The words hit Jennifer like a challenge. The crowd let out a chorus of oohs, sensing the exchange had officially moved past polite disagreement. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of Gibbs's accusation. For Jennifer, who prided herself on being gracious and uplifting, it was a rare moment of being cornered on her own stage. She tried again, forcing her signature warmth back into her voice. "I hear you, Ms. Gibbs. Truly, I do, but I think it's important to balance the past and the future. I celebrate the legends, and I celebrate the new voices, too. That's what keeps us moving forward." But Gibbs wasn't letting go. "Forward," she scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Forward doesn't mean leaving the past behind, Jennifer. Forward means carrying it with you. And if you don't, then all that progress we fought for, it slips away." The studio audience was silent now, fully invested, hanging on every word. This wasn't the light-hearted daytime segment they'd come for. It was something raw, unfiltered, and real. A clash not just of personalities, but of generations, philosophies, and visions of what legacy really meant. Jennifer's jaw tightened slightly as she took a breath, visibly weighing whether to push back harder or let Gibbs's words hang unchallenged. The producers signaled to her from off-camera, but she ignored them. For a host who had built her career on controlling the room with song, charm, and heart, this was uncharted territory. Jennifer Hudson, unwilling to be talked down on her own stage, straightened her posture and leaned in. Her voice, usually velvet smooth, carried an unmistakable edge. "Ms. Gibbs, with all due respect, I do celebrate our legends. I celebrate them every chance I get. But there's also a time to lift up the next generation. That's what keeps the industry alive. The words sounded polished, rehearsed even, but they did little to soften Marla's fire. The veteran actress raised her chin, her eyes gleaming with the same steel that had carried her through decades of Hollywood. "Lift them up all you want, Jennifer," she replied, her tone calm but searing. "But don't do it while standing on our shoulders and forgetting to say, thank you. I've seen this industry chew up and spit out talent. I've watched it erase history. And honey, I won't sit here and let it happen again just because everyone's too busy chasing TikTok fame." The audience reacted instantly, gasping, clapping, some even standing in shock at Gibbs's bluntness. The tension in the room was a living thing now, slithering between the seats, coiling tighter with every word. The applause wasn't unified anymore, it was fractured, with some cheering Gibbs's candor and others rallying behind Jennifer's attempt to maintain control. Jennifer leaned closer, her voice rising above the noise. "Now wait a minute, this isn't about me being disrespectful. You came on my show, and I welcomed you here with love. If you feel like that's not enough, maybe this isn't the place for you." The silence that followed was deafening. Producers froze behind the cameras, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the moment play out. The studio audience sat wide-eyed, sensing they had just witnessed a line that went too far. Jennifer, realizing the gravity of her words, kept her gaze locked on Gibbs, refusing to look away. Marla paused, her face unreadable for a moment. Then, with the calmness of someone who had been through bigger battles than this, she pushed her chair back and rose to her feet. Adjusting her blazer with deliberate grace, she turned to Jennifer and said, "You're right. Maybe it's not." The audience erupted into chaos, gasps, shouts, applause, even a few boos directed at Jennifer. The studio floor shook with the sound of divided loyalties. Some fans cried out, "We love you, Marla," while others clapped furiously for Jennifer's firm stance. The producers frantically waved their arms, trying to calm the crowd, but the energy was already out of control. Marla didn't storm off. She didn't need to. Instead, she walked off the stage with a dignity so powerful it silenced the hecklers and turned the moment into a statement. Her head was held high, her steps measured and steady, as though her departure was the final word in a conversation Jennifer hadn't yet realized she'd lost. Jennifer sat frozen for a beat, caught between frustration and disbelief. Then, forcing a wide smile, she turned to the audience. "Give it up for Marla Gibbs, everybody. A true icon," she announced, her tone cheerful but tight. The applause that followed was fractured, some clapping out of respect for Gibbs, others clapping because they didn't know what else to do. But the damage was done. Backstage, reports later leaked that Gibbs had told producers, "I don't need to be tolerated, I deserve to be celebrated." Crew members described the atmosphere as electric, with some rushing to comfort Gibbs while others tried to calm a fuming Jennifer, who allegedly demanded to know why the producers hadn't cut to commercial sooner. By the time the show wrapped, social media had already exploded. Audience members who had been present uploaded shaky phone footage of the exchange, and within minutes hashtags like #RespectMarla, #JenniferVsMarla, and #Daytime Drama began trending worldwide. Twitter was a battlefield, one side praising Gibbs for speaking truth to power, the other defending Jennifer for protecting her platform. Clips were shared endlessly, one 15-second snippet, Jennifer saying, "Maybe this isn't the place for you," followed by Marla's poised walkout, was reposted millions of times, quickly becoming one of the most viral daytime TV moments in years. Morning talk shows picked it up the next day, with pundits and entertainment reporters dissecting every line of the confrontation. Some argued Jennifer had been disrespectful to a living legend. Others insisted Gibbs had ambushed the host on her own stage. But regardless of which side people were on, one thing was clear, no one could stop talking about it. For Jennifer, the incident was a PR nightmare. Her team scrambled to issue statements about how much she respected Gibbs, while also defending Jennifer's right to set boundaries as a host. Meanwhile, Gibbs leaned into her role as the unshakable veteran. When approached by paparazzi outside her home the next morning, she simply smiled and said, "I said what I said." The comment only fueled the fire. Memes flooded the internet. Gibbs adjusting her blazer became a symbol of unbothered confidence, while Jennifer's strained smile was turned into reaction gifs. Fans debated endlessly over who had truly won the exchange, but the undeniable reality was that Gibbs had walked off that stage with her dignity intact, while Jennifer was left battling the optics. What was meant to be a celebration of Gibbs's legacy had turned into a cultural moment, one that blurred the line between generational wisdom and modern celebrity ego. And as the internet continued to replay the fiery exchange, One truth rose above the noise: respect, once demanded, could never again be denied.